Hi, very glad to see you on the channel. Before you start listening to the story, write in the comments whether you like the voice on the video. I used to think marriage was about trust, about building something together, about supporting each other through everything. I thought Jessica and I were doing just that. But over time, little things started to shift. At first, they were so small I ignored them. The way she'd roll her eyes at my jokes when we were out with friends, how she'd interrupt me mid-story, correcting me over details that didn't matter. Then, there are the moments that cut a little deeper. The way she'd talk about me like I was some kind of outdated model of a husband, someone who just didn't get it. It wasn't always like this. When we first got married, Jessica had admired my work, even bragged about it to others. "Ryan's a genius with computers," she'd say. "If there's a security breach, he's the guy companies call." I was proud of that. I built my career from the ground up, using skills I'd sharpened over years of late nights and endless trial and error. But lately, my profession had become just another thing for her to mock. "He spends all day staring at screens," she'd joked to her friends. "I'm convinced he's part robot at this point." It wasn't a joke. Not really. I could tell by the way she said it, how she barely looked at me afterward. I told myself it was just how she was, sarcastic, blunt. But deep down, I knew better. Then came the fitness obsession. It started small. Jessica had always been in decent shape, but suddenly she was dedicated. She bought expensive equipment, overhauled her diet, and most of all, signed up for virtual personal training sessions. "I just want to feel better about myself," she told me one night when I asked about it. "I'm stuck at home too much. I need something to do." I didn't argue. If it made her happy, why not? But then I started noticing patterns. She always scheduled her workouts when I was in my office. The sessions were oddly long for what was supposed to be basic training. And then there was the lingerie. Jessica never used to care about what she wore while working out. An old tank top, some loose shorts, whatever was comfortable. But suddenly, she was putting on lace-trimmed sports bras, leggings that clung to her like a second skin. One day, I walked into the bedroom while she was setting up her laptop for a session. The moment she saw me, she slammed it shut. I frowned. "What was that?" She laughed too quickly. "Nothing, just setting up." "Hier. Why'd you close it so fast?" She waved a hand. "Ugh, because I was taking a break and watching dumb videos, and I didn't want you to see me wasting time." It didn't sit right with me, but I let it go. That was my mistake. The moment I stopped questioning her was the moment she got bolder. And that's when I started paying attention. I should have spoken up sooner. I should have questioned her the first time she brushed me off, the first time she rolled her eyes when I asked a simple question. But I didn't. I let it slide, convinced myself I was imagining things, that I was just being paranoid. Then, one night, everything changed. We were at a friend's birthday party, a small backyard gathering with familiar faces. Jessica was in her element, laughing, telling stories, making sure she was the center of attention. I stayed on the edge of the conversation, nursing a beer, listening as she rattled on about her new fitness routine. "Oh my God," she gushed, shaking her head. "You guys, my trainer is brutal. He kills me every session. But you know what they say, no pain, no gain, right?" The women in the group nodded approvingly. One of them, Sarah, leaned in. "So, is he one of those old-school drill sergeant types? Or is he actually fun?" Jessica smirked. "Oh, he's fun." Something in the way she said it made my stomach tighten. Lisa, one of our oldest friends, arched a brow. "Like fun how?" Jessica waved a hand, taking a sip of her drink. "Relax. I just mean he makes workouts enjoyable." I watched her carefully, the way she avoided eye contact with me, the way she shifted ever so slightly, as if she were holding back something more. I decided to test the waters. "Maybe I should join one of these sessions," I said, forcing a casual tone. "See what all the hype is about." Jessica barely hesitated, but I caught it, the brief pause, the way her fingers tightened around her glass before she laughed. "Oh, babe, you hate that kind of training. Besides, these are more, tailored for me." Tailored for her. The conversation shifted after that, but I barely heard it. My mind was running through every small detail I had ignored, every excuse, every defensive reaction. By the time we got home, I was done ignoring it. I locked the front door behind us and turned to her. "Jessica, I need to ask you something." She sighed dramatically, kicking off her heels. Oh, here we go. What's really going on with these workouts? I asked, crossing my arms. She scoffed. What the hell does that mean? You tell me. She rolled her eyes. Ryan, for God's sake, they're just workouts. Then why do you act like I'm not allowed to know anything about them? I took a step closer. Why do you suddenly wear your best lingerie before every session? Why do you always make sure I'm busy in my office when they happen? She laughed, but it was forced. Are you seriously keeping track of what I wear? That's creepy, Ryan. I clenched my jaw. That's not an answer. She shook her head, grabbing her purse. I'm not doing this with you right now. You're acting ridiculous. She started walking up the stairs, but I wasn't letting this go. You're hiding something, I said, my voice calm but firm. She stopped on the steps, her back to me. You're paranoid, she muttered. And then she kept walking. I stood there for a long time, staring at the spot where she had been. Maybe I was paranoid, or maybe I was finally seeing things for what they really were. I wasn't going to confront her again, not yet. If she had been lying to my face for this long, she wasn't going to just admit it now. No, if I wanted the truth, I was going to have to find it myself. And that was something I was very, very good at. I sat in my office long after Jessica had gone upstairs, staring at my computer screen, my mind running in circles. Every detail, every excuse, every little sign I had ignored was clicking into place like pieces of a puzzle I had refused to acknowledge. I wasn't just being paranoid. Jessica was hiding something, and I was going to find out exactly what. I wasn't the type to make blind accusations. If I was going to confront her, I needed proof, real, undeniable proof. And luckily for me, gathering digital evidence was what I did for a living. Jessica thought she was being careful. She had changed her phone passcode a few months back, claiming it was for privacy. Her laptop was suddenly always closed when I walked into the room, and she had a habit of shutting down tabs the moment I came near. But the thing about technology is that nothing is ever really deleted. I started by accessing our home network. Most people don't realize that every device connected to Wi-Fi leaves a footprint, a record of what's being accessed and when. I opened my network logs, filtering by Jessica's laptop. A list of recently visited websites popped up, and there it was. livephytone-on-1.com. I clicked the link, and a homepage loaded. It was exactly what you'd expect, a sleek, professional-looking site advertising personalized virtual training sessions. There were bios for each trainer, complete with photos. And then I saw him. Ethan Carter, elite personal trainer. I stared at his picture. A tall, athletic guy in his early 30s, cocky smile, chiseled jawline. The kind of guy who probably spent more time in front of a mirror than actually training people. His profile boasted about his hands-on approach and deeply personal client relationships. Yeah, you bet. I clicked through the available services. The basic packages were what you'd expect: workout plans, nutritional guidance, virtual group sessions. But then, further down, there was a private VIP experience. Exclusive one-on-one video coaching for clients who want deeper motivation, personalized encouragement, and a more intimate fitness journey. That last part made my stomach turn. I backed out of the site and accessed Jessica's laptop remotely using admin privileges. She had no idea that, years ago, I had set up a fail-safe, an encrypted backdoor that let me access her files if I ever needed to recover lost data. She thought her secrets were safe. She was wrong. I dug into her saved files, bypassing her weak security settings. And that's when I found them. Video recordings. I clicked on the most recent one. Jessica appeared on the screen, wearing one of her new workout outfits, a lacy sports bra and leggings that left little to the imagination. She was sitting on a yoga mat, her laptop propped up at just the right angle. And then Ethan's voice came through the speakers. Damn, Jess, you're looking incredible today. My hands clenched into fists. Jessica giggled, tilting her head coyly. Think so? Oh yeah, he said smoothly. I can definitely see the progress. Why don't you stand up, give me a little spin? She obeyed, turning slowly, letting him get a full view. I stopped the video. I didn't need to see any more. I sat there, breathing deeply, trying to keep my anger in check. This wasn't just some harmless flirting. This was deliberate, planned, repeated. And it wasn't just virtual. I dug deeper into her email history, finding a thread between her and Ethan. At first, it was just training schedules, casual banter. But then the messages became bolder. Jessica, that last session was intense. Can't stop thinking about it. Ethan, same. Can't wait to see you again. Maybe next time, in person. And then the final nail in the coffin. Jessica, Ryan's always in his office. He won't notice if you stop by. A date and time followed. 2 days ago, I sat back in my chair, exhaling slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. There it was. Proof. Jessica hadn't just been lying to me. She had been sneaking this guy into our home, into the house I paid for, while I was working just down the hall. The betrayal burned through me, hotter than I expected. But beneath the anger, beneath the raw disbelief, something else settled in. A cold, calculated sense of clarity. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg for an explanation or let her twist this around on me like she always did. No, Jessica wanted to put on a show. I was going to make sure she had an audience. I sat at my desk, staring at the damning messages on Jessica's laptop, my pulse steady and controlled. I had my proof. No more doubts, no more second-guessing. The evidence was right there. Her affair wasn't just emotional, it was physical. Ethan had been in my house, slipping in while I was buried in work just down the hall. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay level-headed. Anger wasn't useful. It clouded judgment, made people reckless. If I let my emotions take over, I'd waste this opportunity. No, I needed to think bigger. Jessica had spent months making a fool out of me, lying to my face while parading around in her expensive lingerie under the guise of fitness. She thought she was untouchable, that she could cheat without consequence. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I opened a new project on my computer, piecing together my plan. First, I pulled the video recordings from her laptop, extracting the most incriminating parts. Ethan flirting, Jessica giggling, the way she posed for him, the way she invited him over. I edited them together, keeping it clean but unmistakable. No one would be able to deny what they were seeing. Then, I worked on my delivery. A simple upload would have been too easy. Sending it to a few friends wouldn't be enough. If Jessica wanted an audience, she was going to get one. I scrolled through my calendar, stopping at an upcoming event, the annual family barbecue at her parents' house. A gathering full of relatives, friends, co-workers. The perfect moment. I embedded the video into a PowerPoint file, disguising it as a fitness motivation slideshow. The first few slides were generic, Jessica stretching, a few stock images of weights, inspiring quotes. Then, halfway through, the real footage would play. I smirked, satisfaction settling into my chest. The stage was set. The day of the barbecue arrived, and I played my part perfectly. I kissed Jessica on the cheek as she got ready, acting as if nothing had changed. She had no idea I knew. She had no idea I had spent the last 48 hours crafting her downfall. She wore a sundress, smiling brightly as she walked around greeting guests, completely unaware of what was coming. Her father clapped me on the back. "Glad you could make it, son. Been too long." I smiled. Wouldn't miss it. Jessica flitted around the yard, laughing, chatting, pretending to be the perfect wife. The same woman who had been undressing for another man on camera just days ago. An hour into the barbecue, her brother gathered everyone near the patio for a little family tradition. Each year, someone gave a toast, shared something positive from the past year. This time, Jessica had volunteered. I almost laughed. The irony was too perfect. She tapped her glass with a spoon, getting everyone's attention. First of all, thank you all for being here. It's always so amazing to be surrounded by family and friends, especially as we work towards bettering ourselves. Physically, mentally, emotionally. I couldn't have planned a better segue if I tried. I clear my throat. Actually, speaking of self-improvement, Jessica, I put together a little something for you. She blinked, confused. Wait, what? I pulled out my phone, casting the fitness motivation slideshow onto the backyard projector. The first few slides played normally. People nodded along as generic workout images flashed on screen. Then it happened. Jessica's face appeared, live from her laptop recordings. "Damn, Jess, you're looking incredible today." Ethan's voice rang out over the speakers, crisp, and undeniable. The backyard went silent. Jessica's smile vanished. What the hell is this? I stayed silent, letting the footage continue. There she was giggling, posing, giving Ethan exactly what he wanted. Then, her own messages appeared on screen. Ryan's always in his office. He won't notice if you stop by. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jessica's mother gasped. Her father's expression darkened. Jessica lunged for the projector, scrambling to shut it off. Stop it. Turn it off. I held in my hands. I thought you wanted to show off your progress. Her face twisted in horror. I picked up my bag and slung it over my shoulder. I'll see myself out. The whispers grew louder as I walked away. Jessica's mother was crying. Her father looked like he wanted to bury her alive. Jessica tried to chase after me, but her brother blocked her path. I didn't stop walking. I walked out of that backyard without looking back. Behind me, Jessica's world was collapsing in real time. Her parents yelling, her brother shaking his head in disgust, her mother crying. I could still hear her frantic voice, high-pitched and desperate, calling my name, but I didn't stop. Not when she broke past her brother and tried to run after me. Not when she grabbed my arm, nails digging into my sleeve. Ryan, please, she gasped, trying to pull me back. I turned, looking her dead in the eye. Her makeup was streaked from tears, her entire body trembling. Please what, Jessica? Her mouth opened and closed, searching for the right words. The ones that would make this go away. The ones that would somehow paint her as the victim. I can explain. I let out a bitter laugh. Explain what? The video? The messages? Or the part where you had another man in our house while I was working 10 feet away? Her lips quivered. It's not what you think. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? Because it looks exactly like what I think. I yanked my arm out her grasp, stepping back. You didn't even bother hiding it. Jessica, you didn't care if I found out because you thought I'd never be smart enough to figure it out, didn't you? Her face crumbled. No. She reached for me again, but I moved out of reach. I wasn't thinking, okay? It didn't mean anything. I scoffed. It meant enough for you to invite him over. It meant enough for you to lie over and over again to my face. She sobbed, covering her face with her hands. Ryan, I just wanted to feel wanted again. I froze. A flicker of something twisted inside me. Wanted. She had the audacity to stand here after everything and say that. As if I hadn't spent years trying. As if I hadn't bent over backward to make her happy, to support her, to be the husband she needed. And the entire time, she was never looking for that from me. I shook my head slowly, my voice low and sharp. You were wanted, Jessica. You just threw it away for some cheap thrill with a trainer who compliments every desperate woman who flashes a little skin. Her shoulders shook as she sobbed harder, but I didn't care. Not anymore. The weight that had sat on my chest for months, hell years, was gone. And for the first time, I could breathe. I turned and walked away again, heading straight for my car. She didn't chase me this time. Maybe because she knew there was nothing left to say. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my phone was already blowing up. Jessica, please, Ryan, don't do this. We can talk. We can fix this. Jessica, I was stupid, okay? I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Just come home so we can talk. Jessica, please don't leave me. I can't handle this. I shut my phone off. I had heard enough of her voice to last a lifetime. I packed my bags that night. I didn't care about most of the stuff in the house. It didn't feel like mine anymore anyway. I just grabbed the essentials, some clothes, my laptop, important documents. Before I left, I took one last walk through the house, stopping in the doorway of her bedroom. The bed where she probably texted him while I lay next to her. The mirror where she checked herself before their video calls. The room where I had thought we had built something real, only to find out it had been a lie. I grabbed my keys and left. That night, I checked into a hotel and ordered the best damn steak I'd had in years. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Filed a divorce, I said before she even had a chance to ask. She let out a slow breath. That was fast. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I don't want to drag this out. I just want out. She paused, flipping through some paperwork. With the evidence you have, we can push for an uncontested divorce. No alimony, no asset split. You walk away clean. Do it. She hesitated. You sure she won't fight it? I thought about Jessica, standing in the backyard, sobbing, begging me not to leave her. If she does, I said, she'll regret it. The hotel room was quiet, too quiet. For the first time in years, there was no passive-aggressive sighing from the other side of the bed, no cold silence stretching between me and Jessica as we avoided talking about the inevitable. Just peace. And yet, as I lay there staring at the ceiling, the weight of everything that had happened in the past 24 hours settled over me like a heavy blanket. I had spent years convincing myself that Jessica and I could fix things, that if I just worked harder, communicated better, or gave her more space, things would go back to the way they were. But they never would, because while I had been fighting for our marriage, she had been entertaining another man on video calls, sneaking him into our house, humiliating me in ways I hadn't even begun to process. The anger was still there, but it was quieter now, less like fire and more like ice, sharp, calculated. I wasn't going to lash out. I wasn't going to scream or argue or beg for answers that didn't matter. I was just going to watch her lose everything. I got out of bed, showered, and grabbed coffee from the hotel lobby before heading to my lawyer's office. Rachel was already waiting when I arrived, a stack of paperwork neatly arranged in front of her. She adjusted her glasses, giving me a knowing look as I sat down. "You ready to do this?" she asked. "Absolutely." She slid the documents across the desk. With the video evidence and the messages, she has no grounds to contest anything. We're filing for an uncontested divorce. You keep your assets, no alimony, and she gets exactly what she deserves, nothing. I smirked, flipping through the pages. Perfect. Rachel leaned back in her chair. She's going to try to fight this, you know? Women like Jessica don't just walk away quietly. I'm counting on it. By the time I left the office, the divorce was officially in motion. All that was left was to see how Jessica would react when she realized she was truly alone. I didn't have to wait long. That evening, I checked my phone for the first time since shutting it off. Predictably, Jessica had flooded me with messages. "Jessica, Ryan, please just talk to me. Jessica, this isn't fair. I wasn't thinking. We can fix this. Jessica, you're really just going to throw everything away? Jessica, I made a mistake, but we have history. That has to mean something. Jessica, my mom won't even talk to me. My own mother, Ryan, do you know how that feels?" I did. It felt a lot like watching your wife cheat on you in your own home. I didn't respond. The next day, Rachel called. She got served, she said, amusement in her tone, and she's already calling lawyers trying to see if she can fight it. Let her try. She won't win, Rachel assured me. She's desperate, but the evidence is bulletproof. She has no leverage. That was what Jessica had never considered, that I wasn't the weak, clueless husband she had painted me as. She had spent years chipping away at my confidence, making me feel like I was never quite enough, like I was the problem. But now, she was the one spiraling, grasping at whatever scrap she had left. 2 days later, she called me. I let go to voicemail. Her voice was raw when I finally listened to it. "Ryan, I don't even know what to say anymore. I know I hurt you. I know I messed up, but I never thought you would just leave like this." A shaky breath. "I miss you. I miss us. Please, can we just talk? Just one conversation?" I deleted the voicemail. Jessica was finally experiencing what I had felt for years, being ignored, being treated like an afterthought, being made to feel like nothing. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about it. The legal battle was shorter than I expected, but that didn't mean Jessica made it easy. The moment she realized I wasn't coming back, she did exactly what I had predicted. She fought. She hired a lawyer, tried to stall the process, threw out accusations that were so ridiculous even Rachel laughed when she read them. "She's claiming emotional distress," Rachel said one afternoon as we went over the latest filing. "That the way you expose her has caused irreparable damage to her reputation and mental well-being." I smirked. She didn't seem too distressed when she was inviting her trainer over. Rachel leaned back, tapping her pen against the desk. "It's a desperation move. She knows she can't win, so she's trying to drag this out and make it painful. She doesn't realize I don't care anymore," I muttered, flipping through the paperwork. Rachel smiled. "Oh, I think she does. That's what's scaring her." Jessica's legal arguments were weak at best. The evidence I had was undeniable, and since I had made sure to keep my revenge strictly to the facts, no lies, no exaggerations, she had no real case against me. Still, she tried. She sent messages, emails, even had mutual friends reach out, hoping someone could convince me to hear her out. One of them, Lisa, called me out of the blue. "Ryan, I know you don't want to talk to her," she said, hesitating. "But she's not doing well." I let out a slow breath, already expecting this. "Not my problem. She's falling apart," Lisa continued. "Her parents cut her off. Her mom won't even take her calls. She lost half her clients at work because the story spread, and she's talking about selling the house." I wasn't surprised. Jessica had always thrived on image, being the perfect wife, the woman who had it all together. That was gone now. She made her choices, I said simply. Now she has to live with them. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "You really don't care?" I thought about it. About the years I had spent trying to be what Jessica wanted, only to be discarded the second she found something more exciting. About how she had laughed behind my back, humiliated me, cheated in my own home. "No," I said finally. "I don't." Jessica finally caved a week later. Rachel called me, clearly amused. "Well," she folded, she said. "She's dropping everything. No contest, no demands. Just wants it over." I exhaled, a slow, deep breath of relief. "Good." She also sent over a note. Rachel cleared her throat, reading it aloud. "Tell Ryan I'm sorry. I was stupid, selfish, and I know I can't take it back. But I hope one day he can forgive me." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Too little, too late." "That's what I figured," Rachel said. "I'll push the final paperwork through. You'll be officially divorced in a few weeks." It was almost done, almost official. And for the first time in years, I felt like I had one. The day the divorce was finalized, I didn't feel the overwhelming rush of satisfaction I thought I would. No triumphant moment. No deep emotional revelation. Just a quiet, steady realization that I was finally, officially free. It was like stepping outside after a long storm. The world looked the same, but everything felt different. Lighter. Rachel called me that afternoon. "It's done," she said simply. "Signed, sealed, and filed. You're no longer a married man." I let out a slow breath. "Just like that. Just like that." There was a pause, and then she added, "You know, I've handled a lot of divorce cases, but this one, I have to say, yours had one of the most satisfying conclusions I've ever seen." I smirked. "Glad I could entertain you." She laughed. "You might not feel it now, but trust me, this was the best thing that could have happened to you. Some people get stuck in toxic marriages for decades before they wake up. You got out, and you got out winning." I thanked her, hung up, and sat there for a long moment, just staring at the finalized documents. Jessica was officially out of my life. No more late-night texts. No more desperate attempts to manipulate me into coming back. No more damage control from her end. It was over. I moved into a new apartment the next week. It wasn't anything flashy, just a simple, modern space on the edge of the city, big enough for me to breathe, but small enough that it didn't feel empty. There was something strangely satisfying about filling the place with only my things. No traces of Jessica, no reminders of our life together. Just a fresh start. The first night in my new place, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat out on the small balcony, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. For years, I had built my life around Jessica, her needs, her schedule, her expectations. And now I could do whatever the hell I wanted. I picked up my phone, scrolling through my contacts. There was one name that caught my eye. Lisa. We had kept in touch in the weeks since everything had gone down. She had been just as blindsided as I was, her own marriage crumbling in the fallout of what Jessica and Brandon had done. We had leaned on each other, not in a dramatic, romantic way, but in the way two people who had been through the same storm could understand without having to say much. I hesitated for a moment, then sent her a text. "Me. Drinks to celebrate our freedom?" A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. "Lisa, absolutely. My place or yours?" I smirked, shaking my head. "Me. Let's go somewhere new. No memories attached." She responded with a thumbs up, and just like that, I had plans for the night. An hour later, we met at a rooftop bar downtown, a place neither of us had ever been before. The music was low, the lights dim, the kind of place where people came to drink expensive cocktails and pretend their lives weren't falling apart. Lisa raised her glass when I sat down. "To fresh starts," she said. I clinked mine against hers. "To fresh starts." She studied me for a moment, then smirked. "You look different." "Different how?" She shrugged. "Lighter. Like you finally took off a weighted vest you didn't even realize you were wearing." I chuckled. "That's exactly how it feels." We drank, we talked, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't thinking about Jessica. I wasn't analyzing the past, wondering what I could have done differently. I was just here, in the moment. Lisa leaned back, sipping her drink. "So what's next for you?" I exhaled, thinking about it. "I don't know. And for the first time in my life, I'm okay with that." She smiled. "That's a good answer." We stayed out late, laughing, sharing stories, realizing just how much of our past had been shaped by people who didn't deserve us. And by the time we left, I knew one thing for sure. Jessica was nothing more than a chapter one had finally closed. A mistake I would never make again. And my real life? It was just beginning. Jessica's life unraveled faster than even I had expected. After the divorce was finalized, I didn't keep tabs on her, but I didn't have to. Word spread fast. Friends, former coworkers, and even distant acquaintances sent me updates without me asking. Some out of curiosity, some out of sheer schadenfreude. She lost her job. Lisa texted me one morning, followed by a laughing emoji. Apparently, some of her clients found out about the video and didn't want to be associated with her anymore. Her boss called it conduct unbecoming of a professional. I smirked, shaking my head. Jessica had spent years treating me like I was beneath her, like she was leagues above me, because she had a respectable career while I worked in cybersecurity from home. Now, she had nothing. A few weeks later, another update came through, this time from an old mutual friend. Jessica moved into a tiny apartment on the other side of town. The message read. She had to sell the house. Apparently, her parents refused to help her after everything. That one surprised me. Jessica's parents had always been overbearing, the kind of people who believed their daughter could do no wrong. But even they had their limits. I got a call from her father not long after. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. "Ryan," he said, his voice heavy. I wanted to apologize." I raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For not seeing who she really was," he admitted. "For the way we treated you. My wife and I, we defended her for years. Made excuses for her behavior. We thought you weren't doing enough. We see now that we were wrong." I exhaled slowly. I hadn't expected that. "I appreciate you saying that," I said. "She reached out to us after everything went public," he continued. "Wanted our support. But we told her she made her choices. She needs to live with them." I nodded, a strange sense of closure settling over me. "That's fair." There was a pause. Then he sighed. "Take care of yourself, Ryan." I hung up, feeling something shift inside me. It was over. Really over. Jessica had burned every bridge, lost everything she had taken for granted, and now she was on her own. And me? I had moved on. Lisa and I remained close, though nothing had turned romantic between us. We had both been burned too badly, and neither of us wanted to rush into anything. But there was something comforting about having someone who understood. Someone who had been through the same fire and come out stronger. One evening, we met for drinks again, sitting at the same rooftop bar where we had toasted to fresh starts. She studied me over the rim of her glass. "You seem happy." I nodded, taking a sip of my whiskey. "I am." She smirked. "Feels good, doesn't it? Watching them fall apart while we rebuild." I chuckled. "It does." Then, after a pause, I added, "But I don't need revenge anymore. I don't even need to think about her. She's just gone." Lisa tilted her head, considering that. "Yeah, I guess that's real freedom, huh?" I looked out over the city, feeling lighter than I ever had. "Yeah," I said, smiling. "It is." Thank you for listening to the end. I hope you enjoyed it very much. Don't forget to give a like, and tell us in the comments what you would do in such a situation.